The meeting, is it Senate recording? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. You may be aware of the recent passing of a past mayor of Dunstable, who was then known as Sylvia Podwill. Sylvia was mayor from 1997 to 1998. In that year, Councillor Podwill led the town's response to the sad death of Diana, Prince of Wales, and chaired the council's discussions about the criteria of proposed new heritage centre, which was to become Priory House. Before the meeting starts, please can I ask members of the council to join me in a minute silence to honor the sad passing of Sylvia Podwill. I invite my chaplain, Pastor Julian Richards, to lead the council in prayers at the end of the silence.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today on behalf of the ones that family and friends that have lost their councillor, ex-mayor. Lord, I pray that your comfort would be with that family at this time, and we remember them today fondly for their contribution in this town. But tonight we also come to you on behalf of these amazing people gathering to have this meeting this evening, giving up their time, their energy, their effort, their thoughts, their creativity on behalf of this community. Lord, we pray for the most vulnerable in our community. We pray, God, that we would make decisions that would help them and better their lives. We pray tonight that you would guide us in our thoughts and our deliberations. Lord, I pray that as we approach a festive season, that these wonderful people would have great times with their families, with their loved ones. We pray, God, that your Holy Spirit would be in this room tonight as they make decisions. Lord, that we don't need uniformity, but we do need unity tonight. And I just pray that there would be unity and purpose on behalf of the community that they represent. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Apologies.
We have apologies this evening from Councillor Jones, Councillor Kenson Gurney, Councillor O'Riordan, Councillor Mark Davis, Councillor Phil Crawley, and Councillor John Gurney, who was attending virtually but not able to be in the room.
Councillor Alderman.
And Councillor Alderman, thank you. Send to the pages.
Are there any specific declaration of interest? Any public? We go to our next agenda. We have the authority to sign as a correct record the minutes of the council meeting held on May 6, October 2025. So we go to the next agenda, 2823-25, I just want to say thank you very much for your continued support. The officers in the council, they've been quite supportive in terms of allowing me to continue doing and serving the people, which is quite good. I've had a very good time engaging with members of the public. We had our torchlight on Friday, which was quite good. We were able to visit Prairie House, which again, we saw the progress of how things are progressing, which was again very positive. And I think you're also, the councillors, we also invited, but I think most of you are not available. Again, as I say, if there is any opportunity for us to be somewhere, especially if it's local to your area, please join us. If you see there's anything that the groups or community groups or people are doing, kindly come and join us. You don't need an official invitation, just come and support the people there. So for me, it's Christmas season and I'm wishing you in advance. Merry Christmas. I'll ask my deputy, I think he did attend some events on my behalf, which I just want to say thank you because it's been a bit busy and hopefully we're there to represent the town.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yes, there's 4 events that I believe I attended on your behalf since the last full council. I'll just give members a quick brief update. On the 9th of October, I attended the Ampts Hill Town Council Civic Reception on behalf of Madam Mayor. It was a very humbling event actually with the Ampts Hill Mayor particularly putting forward a personal appeal that he's put together with his fundraising event due to health concerns affecting his own family. It was very touching. That was a great cause. On the 10th of October, I attended the Signpost 40-year anniversary event on behalf of Madam Mayor. Again, that was a very humbling experience. The charity do an awful lot of work for homeless people, and seeing how they enact this every day was a real tribute to them. On the 18th of October, I attended the Royal British Legion Poppy prom in attendance of the Lord Lieutenant of Bedfordshire. Again, that was an excellent event, and the band and choir deserve particular note for being absolutely exceptional. It really was a superb event. And finally, on the 21st of October was the circus from Houghton Regis Mayor Foundation and fundraising event. A different type of event altogether, obviously being a circus, but really highly enjoyable, and it was great to attend and support her causes, good causes.
Thank you very much. We go to the next agenda. This is where we receive the committee's report. So I'll call upon all the relevant chairs to present their reports in accordance with the usual practice. I will then call out the appropriate minutes numbers and would ask members to indicate whether they wish to ask any questions or make remarks. So I'll start with the community service. That was the 3rd November 2025. 284.1 or 25, sorry. So Councillor Matthew Neal. 1 minute, sorry. Okay. Councillor Matthew Neal.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to propose the minutes of community services held on Monday, the 3rd of November.
Is the motion seconded? So minutes are 228, 229, 230, 231, 232, 233, 234, 235, 236, 237, 238, and 239. It has been moved and seconded that the report be received. Those in favor? And those against? So there's none against, sorry, I shouldn't have asked that. I declare the motion to be carried. So the next set of minutes are from the Grounds and Environmental Services. I'll call upon Councillor Peter Howick.
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to propose that the minutes of the Grounds and Environmental Services held on the 10th of November be received.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? So the minutes are 248, 249, 250, 251, 252, 253, 254, 255.
Oh.
So, sorry.
254, Madam.
254, okay.
I'd just like to rise, although Mary isn't here tonight, reiterate what I said at the Grounds Environmental Services Committee on the retirement, or at least the moving on, shall we say, of Mary Dobbs. It's some sadness that she is moving on, because she has done such a wonderful job, I think, at the cemetery. It was through her also that the first green flag for the cemetery was achieved, and that's been achieved in the subsequent years as well. So we obviously wish her well in her move. Perhaps I should just say here that I think it's a little bit early to say anything about John. You've probably received the information that he'll be leaving us in about 11 weeks' time. I will think of something to say at the appropriate time.
Thank you for that. 255, 256, 257, 258, 259, 260, 261, and 266. 262, sorry. It has been moved and seconded that the report be received. Those in favor? I declare the motion to be carried. Our next report that we received today is from the Finance and General Purpose Committee on the 17th November 2025. I'll call upon Councillor Nicholas Kotaski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to propose the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee held on the 17th of November be received.
Thank you. Is a motion seconded?
Madam Mayor, happy to second the motion.
Thank you. In favor? I think I should have called out the numbers of the minutes. I do apologize for that. So let me call out the minutes. So it's 263, 264, 265, 266, 267, 268, 269, 270, 271, 272, 273, 274, 275, 276, 277, 278. It has been moved and seconded that the reports be received. Those in favor? Thank you. I declare the motion be carried. Our next point is community governance review. So I'll ask Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So members, you'll remember we discussed the community governance review June, July time, when CBC were initiating the review. We gave our feedback. We proposed that the land at the outside of Downside Recreation Ground onto the land which we're seeking to purchase, and the land on the other side of the road around the two schools be moved into the Dunstable boundary. We wrote to Cannington Parish Council with that view. They opposed that. They feel like they were losing a bit of their parish. However, we submitted our proposal to CBC. They submitted their objection. The other side is a piece of land that Tottenham want to move into their parish boundary, which we objected to because it seems like it remains part of Dunstable. So CBC have now produced their next stage of the consultation, which we can comment on. This isn't the public stage. This is a stage where we comment and then it will become public later on. You might see they've added another proposal in. So part of the review is the number of councillors for each parish council and the number of councillors in each ward. CBC are proposing that East Ward is reduced by 1 member. It's very hard to see from the report why they've arrived at that recommendation. So I've gone through a little bit in the report that would make East Ward the highest ratio of electors per councillor in the whole of Central Bedfordshire. So CBC is seeking to increase democracy They're seeking to increase representation. They're concerned where there are councils where there are too many councillors who are co-opted. There's not enough elected people, so democracy suffers. Well, that's not an issue in Dunstable, including in that ward. You can see that that ward has been contested. It's not just had 5 people elected to it. It's been contested, going back in memory as long as we can remember. So it's hard to see how it would serve democracy. It's hard to see why they're making that recommendation based on their own criteria. So my recommendation, as there, would be that we oppose that. The recommendations are that we continue to seek to move the land from Caddington into our boundary and oppose the moving of the land into Tottenham. Those 3 recommendations are for your discussion.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful for me to, I might be able to elaborate slightly on some of this. So I am part of the General Purposes Committee at Central Bedfordshire Council where this goes through. So I will be part of those final decisions as well, as to how this ends up. I was in the working group meetings where this was discussed, which was really interesting. And it basically was every town within Central Bedfordshire, they had this whole list, some massive list of lots of different data from those councils about the different elections that they had over the years, the amount of people who had signed up for those elections, who had put themselves forward, etc. And they came up with a central set of tenets or something, if you will, criteria that they would go by. And one of those things was that they didn't want equal numbers. That was how very specific they got about their criterion by which they would set these things. They didn't want equal numbers. And it was done very, very quickly. And they went through the list of all these different councils, and they would, one of them would shout out a council name, and then they would shout out numbers, and then it all got quite farcical in the end. I obviously opposed to this. I thought it was bad. I think that the decision to reduce the councillors in East possibly was a political decision, maybe somewhat politically motivated. I wouldn't suggest that. I shouldn't have suggested that, maybe, but I think perhaps there was some implicit political bias there as to why someone would suggest that the councillors in East would be reduced and not one of the other wards that maybe would have. I said this at on the day, I think West probably would have made more sense just because of the numbers. Then even then, I don't think it really made sense to reduce the numbers of councillors at all. I think we have a very good democratic split, and I think politically this year's this council has been very good with regards to working together, even though we have had a no overall control 3-way split essentially within the council. I think we've done very well, and we've worked together to reach common goals many times. But I do agree with what is in the report. I think we should oppose it. I also think that we should consider sending someone to the meeting, because it would be very difficult for me to step out of my role as a member of the committee to then go sit in front of the committee and say, as a Dunstable Town Councillor, you shouldn't be doing this. I think personally that we should nominate someone to go to that meeting who is available to do so, speak on our behalf and say that you guys are actually kind of stupid and this is a really stupid idea and you're actually doing worse for our town than you think you're doing. I think they had the best intentions, but I think within Dunstable their framework didn't really fit.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This council used to be 18. It then went up, I think, to 21. And a few years ago, we decided that that was too many. And on the basis of representation, we were able to reduce to 18. To go down one more on the basis of what's been proposed, I think is ridiculous, given what has been said on the agenda as to the number of people, number of constituents in East Ward, and the way in which the representation would be distorted were it be reduced by 1. As far as the other elements are concerned, the 1.2, I need to be reminded whether incorporating St Mary's and Manshead schools from the parish of Caddington, I mean, that of itself seems sensible, given that it wasn't so long ago that we actually brought in where the Holiday Inn and I think the new development and the care home, albeit called Caddington House or Caddington something or other, should have been called Dunstable, whatever, that was brought into the parish of Dunstable. So I think that makes some sense, the 2 schools, but I need to be reminded whether or not I think it's Cottage Bottom, is also part of that proposal. Because if we do go ahead with that project, then it would be eminently sensible that that particular project comes within the parish of Dunstable. As far as Toddington is concerned, well, yes, I agree. So all in all, I can find nothing to not approve what has been suggested in the actions recommended. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I agree with Councillor Brennan and his comments there. Secondly, I believe the actual public opinion is actually open now. So individuals can go online and register their own individual responses to the survey, which I've done already. But,
Oh, sorry. Thank you for that. I'll first go to John and then I'll come to you. Councillor.
John Gunn.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Gunn, sorry.
I hear you.
He can't.
Councillor Gurney, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, I wasn't sure if that was me mentioned. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would agree with Councillor Brennan and Councillor Hollick on the recommendations or the recommendations of the of this point. I disagree with the CBC suggestion that 1 councillor should be reduced from the Dunstable East Ward, especially as it is a growing ward and it does have the biggest number of electors in Dunstable in the number of wards. So I agree with your recommendations. Okay.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tamara.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also just make a point that I totally agree with Councillor Brennan as well as every point in the report as to your recommendation, Chief Executive. I just wondered if we can clarify, was there any point in the report in terms of CBC in their decision-making process that they were thinking about reducing the cost of, going through election by any way? Is there any reference towards costs in any of the conversation?
I think in general terms it was mentioned. Councillor Brennan, who's there, so he may wish to add to this. The main cost they identified was where councillors are paid allowances. Obviously, there'd be a reduction in cost, but we don't pay any councillors allowances. And to run an election, the costs are the building, the ballot papers, those things. So the cost of an election is pretty much the same for 4 people as 5 people. So it's very hard to see. We might need to buy 1 tablet less, I guess, if we had 17 councillors, but very minimal cost in the grand scheme.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, for clarification, if memory serves, there was some discussion about costs. And that was with regards to councils, parish councils, not like ours, but with a lot fewer members who there was a suggestion that councils might reduce the number of councillors that are going for election, or suggest to people that they wouldn't put themselves forward for election because of the costs involved in running an election. If there are uncontested elections, then a council doesn't have to pay come election time. So there were conversations about that, but not in the terms of Dunstable and the amount of councillors that we have, because they know that we don't have as
Uncontested.
we don't have uncontested elections, and we don't have money, as in we don't get paid. Voluntary. There you go. That's the word.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So we move to the recommendations and voting. So 1.1, to strongly oppose the arbitrary and evidenced recommendation to reduce the number of councillors in Eastward by 1, and to insist that Dunstable democratic representation be maintained as at its current level. Is there a proposal?
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to propose.
Madam Mayor, may I add a suggestion that we ask someone to go to the meeting and to represent us? How would we do that? Would we
go through the 3 recommendations
And
and
then-
then do
and then
that?
afterwards?
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't want to lose it.
Okay,
Cool.
we have that. Representative, yeah. So who's going to second it?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Those in favour? I declare the motion to be carried. 1.2, that the council confirms its endorsement of the draft recommendation to move the parish boundary, incorporating the land forming part of and also adjustment to the downside recreation grounds, together with the land occupied by St. Mary's and Man's Head School, from the parish of Caddington into the parish of Dunstable Town Council. Is there a proposal?
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to propose.
Second.
Yep, I'm happy to second.
Those in favour? I declare the motion to be carried. And then go to 1.3, to continue to oppose the change suggested by Tottenham Parish Council proposed land into Tottenham Parish boundary. 1.1, that the new calendar, sorry, sorry. Is there a proposal? Thank you.
I'm happy to propose.
Is
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Apologies, Madam Mayor, that's unfortunately writing something in there that was copied and pasted from somewhere else, which confused you.
those in favour? I declare the motion to be carried. So we go to, oh, sorry, yes,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose
yes.
that, though we don't know when this will be coming back to Central Bedford, that we delegate authority to yourself to choose a representative of the council that could represent us at the time that it comes back to Central Bedfordshire to put our position forward.
As I represent the council for the planning, I'm happy to stand for this job as well.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. That's fine. So I will propose
Yeah.
that you represent us. Thank you very much.
getting a vote to agree that.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
Yes.
So can we take can you need a second there?
okay, can I have a proposal?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you very much. All in favour, all those in favour? I declare the motion to be carried and thank you very much for that.
Okay.
We go to the budget 2026 to 2027. I'll call upon Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members. I've just noticed an error at the top of my report, so apologies for that. It does say draft budget summary 25-26. Obviously, it's for 26-27, the next financial year. So this report, as members have received this report as a roundup of the first cycle of meetings that took place in November across the 3 committees, where and each committee have reviewed the areas of their budget for review and comment. I've included the appendices with this report that details the draft budget in full at that stage following as part of those 3 meetings. This obviously doesn't take account of any changes requested for review that's come out of any of those meetings or amendments. And we are aware members are keen to reduce the draft budget from the 12% presented. Officers are obviously working hard on that, and we will be presenting a revised budget in the January cycle of committee. Some items to consider and to be presented to the next round of meetings are changes to business rates that have come out of the autumn budget, the employers' pension contributions that we've now been notified may be reducing, the council tax base that we didn't have at the time of presenting this budget, as well as looking at any underspends that we will be forecasting in the current year, which we will have a better figure of come presenting to the January committees, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for that. So we will go to the proposed motion. So the first 1.1, that the council consider the draft revenue budget enclosed at appendix 1 and 2 with this report and agree adopting a balanced budget as proposed at the meeting of the council on 9th February 2026, pending any changes that may be proposed following a review of the events budget, a review of reserve, and the use of the forecast underspend and the final figures of the council tax. And the terminal pension. So is there a proposal? Thank you, Councillor Tamayo. Second,
Madam Mayor, we'll be happy to propose.
is a motion. Thank you.
Happy to second that.
Those in favour? I declare the motion to be carried. Yeah.
Members, because on the subject of the budget, if I could draw something else to your attention. You may have seen that CBC are consulting on changes to council tax relief. So they've issued a consultation which closes on the 6th of January, which it came out before we had a chance to put in the agenda pack for this meeting, and obviously that will then close before the day after communities, but it's not a subject for communities. The proposed changes to council tax relief would impact our council tax base to some extent. So it may add more people to our council tax base, so it may actually make it slightly cheaper or add a bit more money into our budget. But obviously to do that, they're going to have to change some of the people who currently receive council tax relief. So there'll be people in Dunstable who no longer get relief from council tax from CBC, or they get less than they currently do to enable that to happen. Now, the approach CBC are probably going to take is they will make that change for us for 1 year at their risk, because they know we need to set our budget in January and they're not going to make a decision in time for that information. But the following year, they may then take it back if they decide not to apply it. That makes sense. So that's an important issue for residents who pay council tax, and it does potentially have an impact for us as a council. Obviously, much bigger impact for CBC as a budget item, and they're very much seeing it as one of their options to make it saving. So my suggestion would be, if members think that is something that needs a response from us as a council, that 2 or 3 or 4 members meet up once, read it through and agree a response on behalf of the council and submit that to the delegate up on this meeting tonight, if members would like to do that.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to speak on this, and I have some figures that I might be able to share. This is a change that is actually going to affect I rephrase that, the most amount of people that the area with the most amount of people that this will affect is Dunstable. There are 1,457 people within Dunstable, or households within Dunstable, that receive local council tax relief. And that's the highest in Central Bedfordshire per place. And it's really important, I think, that we respond to this. It's basically for the poorest within our area, within our society. They don't have to pay the full amount of council tax. A while ago, they changed it to being income banded. So it depends on how much income you receive, and the lowest income gets 100% relief. And then the next band higher gets 80% relief, and then the next band up gets 60% relief. They're going to change that, and they're going to change it to disproportionately affect the lowest banding. So the people who are in the most need are going to be disproportionately affected. And this is because of a conversation that we had in scrutiny, and the executive member decided that he had to change the figures to make sure that those who receive 100% council tax relief were most affected by the changes, which is a very strange thing. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth. Obviously, I advise anyone to go back and watch the meetings, but I agree with the clerk, and I do believe that we should join together and try and fight this, because it's very important. It's going to affect the most hard up within Dunstable. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Slightly confused. CBC are making a decision to balance their budget, and they've come up with some sort of ideas of how to do it. Just trying to understand, in terms of what you said, Paul, and what Councillor Brennan just said, that there's, people listening to this at home. It seems more to me that as CBC councillors that are being paid to represent their local people at CBC, that is the place where you ensure that you have the right motion and you fight this at that level. I'm not sure if we're fighting, if we're having the right conversation, if you will. I do understand what Councillor Brennan is saying. I do think CBC, if they're going to make that decision to, whether you want to call it, punish people that are on the lowest level of income, whichever way you're looking at it, I think that decision really is for councillors that our residents have been elected to represent them at CBC, to do that work at CBC and ensure that those reductions are not made. So, I'm slightly confused, but if you can clarify for me, are we talking about this decision affecting this council or affecting our resident? I understand from Councillor Brennan, it's going to affect our resident, which I totally agree with. But in terms of this council, can you clarify for me where we stand on how we'll, deal with this matter?
Thank you, Cass. That's a really helpful question. It's both. So it does, obviously it would affect residents who have to pay it, but because it affects the council tax base. So if you took a decision which said another 100 residents don't receive council tax relief, that would mean another 100 residents would pay us council tax, which would mean the town council's precept, the town council council tax base goes up by 100. So the spread of the town council's precept is across more people. So effectively, if you keep Band D the same, you're effectively earning a little bit more every year for the town council. So there is a direct impact on the town council's budget. That's why I was making the suggestion. But I entirely recognise that with a working group, sometimes there's a sense that members want to work together on something and you'll come to a view for Dunstable. And sometimes there are just political differences and it makes more sense for you all to respond individually.
Can I ask a supplementary question as well on that? So if the people that are least able to pay the tax now have to pay the tax but can't or don't, does that also impact? So does the non-payment of the council tax impact Dunstable Town Council directly or not?
So when CBC set the tax base for us, they put on, I think they take off 0.3% of their assumed non-collection, but that's at the start of the year. If they don't collect more during the year, that's at CBC's risk. They still have to give us the amount they said at the start of the year. It's their job to collect and their risk if they collect more or less of what they set out to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to go along with Councillor Brennan in having a joint meeting to decide on the message to CBC on this matter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to be clear, we're talking about two different conversations. Okay, one is a decision to talk to CBC about your decision to remove people that have the opportunity to have that council tax fully paid for. Is that correct? And we're saying Councillor Brennan or the councillors are not happy with that decision to leave the poorest and those people that will be affected even more out of the council tax ban, basically taking their leverage away, if you will. I think it's a separate decision. Okay, that's a political conversation. As overall, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. If all of Labour Party, all of the councillors and in Dunstable are saying we are not happy with that, what CBC is trying to do, it's a different conversation from what this council has a duty to do, which is to represent what we do, okay, as to ensuring that we have a balanced budget. I think, we just need to be clear that we're not fighting a political battle. What an independent that run Dunstable, that run CBC decision has made, and councillors that are in CBC have decided to do, they can fight those conversation and make that decision within the council of CBC. I think if nobody agrees with it, then it should be voted down. Okay, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Okay, so if I may, it is a political decision ultimately. The local council tax relief scheme is a political decision which will be taken by full council at CBC. So I can tell you that, I can't tell you how I'm going to vote, but I will be voting on that matter at CBC, as will the rest of the councillors. I think personally, as we in this council represent the area that is going to be most affected by this change, and I believe is going to be disproportionately affected by this change, as will Houghton Regis Town Council, because we as them have some of the areas of greatest deprivation within central Bedfordshire. And as such, I think we're most likely to have, I know we do because I've seen the figures, we have more residents who are going to be affected by this change. So I think personally that we as a collective body do have a duty to our residents to represent them in that space though I am an elected member there and I will be representing my residents in that space, I think as Dunstable Town Council, we have the same responsibility to represent Dunstable as a whole in that space. But I'm open to it, like, that's just my opinion, and I would be voting for a working group. I will be voting for a working group, a cross-party working group that shows that for us, it's not a political issue, that all political parties, I would hope, within this council agree that this is a bad idea and is going to disproportionately affect the poorest within the town.
If I may again, so firstly, I've done what I really try never to do to you, which I've introduced something you had no prior knowledge of and you haven't got any papers for. So apologies for that, but I either did it or there would be no response from the council on this unusual occasion. Just glancing at papers from CBC, there are currently 4 different bands of council tax discounts and 5 different categories for them. So there's 20 different options, and it's a complicated matter. It's not something you can get head around quickly. So my suggestion would be that if you wish, you agree a working group, and the working group's remit is to submit as view from the council. If you can find agreement, it may be you sit down and go, actually, do you know what, politically we don't agree on this, so that's fine, and then you submit individual things. Or it may be that you sit together and think, actually, no, there is enough shared. Once we've looked at the detail and you've had time to understand the detail, there's enough of a shared position to put in a shared submission if that's what you wish to do.
Thank you very much. I'll bring the matter to an end because I think it's going to be more beneficial for us to have a working group. I think that's how we approach situations where we want to find a solution or we want our voices to be heard. So if you're happy to have a working group, then we can be able to.
It's going to just test the water because I'm not sure we are in a disagreement because we haven't found out if we are actually. So could we establish whether we are in a position to be able to do what you suggest, which is
the working group?
Well, I think you said we are being asked by Central Bedfordshire for a to respond to the consultation.
Yeah.
We definitely want to respond to the consultation. I think we're all clear about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where we were on the precipice of doing something before we suggested we were setting the working group up. Or was that always the only option for this afternoon?
I think I don't think it would be reasonable to expect you to agree a response right now, because it's like I say, you need to sit and go through it. So I think the working group is the only way to get a response from the council that would be robust.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any members who want to be in the working group?
Depending on when it is.
We've noted them. So.
Members, it might well be that you'd want to extend the invitation to those not here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and allow the mayor to ensure it's represented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have who else are ready to see?
So we've got councillors Brennan, Katarski. I've forgotten his surnames.
Henderson.
Henderson, that's it. That's the man I addressed.
We have at least.
That's 4.
That's 4. So we need maybe another representative from.
But we can send an email out to clarify that, and obviously dates may.
It may determine which.
We have to vote on that, or have we just agreed to set up a working group? Is that all in agreement?
Let's set up a working group and then.
Grand. This is awesome.
Good. And look to the internal audit. Lisa, thank you.
Madam Mayor. So members, you would have received the first interim internal audit report for the financial year 25-26. This report was not received in time to be attached with the Finance General Purposes Committee agenda for the meeting held on the 17th of November. However, members were circulated the report prior to that meeting and a further update was also given. The members of the council this evening therefore received this report to note the first interim report, and will be pleased to note that the council continues to maintain an adequate and effective system of controls, internal controls, and that there are no matters arising from this first visit.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must say that there are times when too much repetition can be annoying, but the exception, I believe, is here, where it does say at each conclusion there are no matters arising today require a formal comment or recommendation. So congratulations once again on the report and that those conclusions. I think we can still say that we are in capable hands as far as the finance is concerned.
Thank you. So we'll be receiving to receive and note the first internal audit report for 2025 to 2026. Is there a proposal? Is a motion seconded? Those in favor? I declare the motion carried. We go to our next event budgets.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I should say that Becky Wisby sends apologies. She's not well this evening, otherwise she would have been here for this item in particular. Those of the Community Services Committee will be aware that the committee discussed the budget, as other committees have this time, and one item that came up was the events budget, and the committee were keen to get a better understanding of events and what the impact would be of cancelling one or more events in the coming year as a saving. The committee set up a working group to do that. The working group met a couple of weeks ago, and we had a lengthy, detailed discussion, and I provided you there the information that was given to that working group that gives you the information about the estimated attendees for each event. That was comes with a bit of a health warning because we don't count people in and out, but we've been doing it a long time, so they're fairly accurate figures. Obviously, attendance at events can vary quite a lot, being weather dependent. All of our events go up quite substantially based on weather, and sometimes something else happens locally or something else happens. So there's a bit of health check against that. We tried to come up with a cost per person per event is one way of looking at it. So I'm trying to say there is a bit of a health check with that. All in all, members of the working group took the view that if you were going to make a saving, the best place to do it would be on Priority Pictures. You're saving 5,000 just over off the budget, which in the grand scheme of our budget is 0.17%. So it's not going to change the world in terms of cost saving. If you did that, and because we now show a film as part of the Soapbox Derby and as a part of the proms event, whereas we didn't do those two things a few years ago, you still have films a couple of times for our residents. And if you, for the proms event, if you added an accessible screening, so at the moment we'll play the same film twice for Priority Pictures. The first time will be done more quietly in a way that's accessible for those who will struggle with the normal noise with other adaptions and with subtitles. We would add that to proms, so we wouldn't be losing that bit of Priority Pictures, which seems really important. So that was I think the recommendation from those from the working group may want to probably speak, but I think the working group's view was that if you made a saving, that would be the place to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we had the working group, and I'd like to thank the officers for the time and energy they put into producing the figures. It's a difficult decision because we're fully aware that one of the key things that our town is famed for are our events, which are very popular. So it's not an easy decision to try and take one of those away, but we hopefully have done it in a way that it won't be missed as such. As the town clerk chief executive says, not a huge saving, but we're trying to do our best in trying to make some savings to reduce the pre-subs as much as possible.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So events do change over the years. I remember when I first came to Dunstable, we had a very successful carnival in May, and but that after a few years was discarded. I think it's basically because some of the local businesses weren't able to or weren't prepared to lend their lorries for the sort of sufficient time to be able to build some sort of unit on the back of them to take part in the parade. We did have a beer festival once that lasted for about 3 or 4 years, but we decided that was no longer viable. This year, of course, we had the soapbox derby introduced, and that was such a success that we want to keep that. So a number of events have been looked at, and I think the Working Party have given a well-considered conclusion as far as this particular item is concerned. And it has been described as to ways in which we can still have some pictures. So I would certainly concur with the recommendation as far as the events programme is concerned for the next year.
Thank you. So we will move to voting that members consider removing priority pictures from the events programme for 2026. Is there a proposal?
Wish to propose, Madam Mayor.
Is the motion seconded?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Those in favour? I declare the motion carried. The next agenda, town meeting 2026, update from our chief executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just kind of early awareness really. So for the town meeting next March, the intention is that we'll hold it again at the college, because that seems to have gone really well for the last couple of years. There's a slight element in the new budget you've seen to ensure we've got funds for the different events we do and the PA around them. But we do it again in the college because we've had really good public attendance. We've had a theme for the town meeting for the last couple of years, which has also gone really well. So the suggestion is that next year we'd theme it around volunteering, with a particular focus on In Bloom and volunteers working with our services and working with the towns, the look of the town and horticulture, particularly in the year where we're looking to enter Britain in Bloom again. So it seemed like a really good year to raise awareness of opportunities around volunteering and the options there are for people to get involved in the town. I'm not asking you for a decision on that, but obviously very happy to take comments as we consider how we're going to plan that.
I think I like the idea of volunteering, because being mayor and going to different events, most of the people who give back are people who give their time. They are the unsung heroes, which we need to shine a light on them. Yeah, so I think I like that idea.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just gonna mention because I think the idea of volunteering is really good. Whether or not we can have charity that looks at, like the last one we had a charity that looks at our local group can get funding. I think you want to invite people like that to be able to help just the local group that you invite there.
Any other comment? So our next agenda is Danceable Joint Committee. I'll call upon members of the Danceable Joint Committee to provide an update on any matters of interest arising from the recent meeting of the Danceable Joint Committee, beginning with the chair of the committee.
Oh, thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. I am the chair of the Dunstable Joint Committee. That is who I am. I'm that person. And I'm here before you now to give you an update about that. So it was a good meeting. We did have a good meeting at the Dunstable Joint Committee recently. Councillor Tamara was there. He's one of two local groups that are vying for the affection of the committee, trying to get onto Dunstable Joint Committee. And he provided a very good update on what his local business group is doing, which was very nice. We also had the police there as usual, and there are going to be some changes to how the committee communicates with the police beforehand, so that we can have a better look at their reports, because I felt that we didn't get to delve into that report as much as possible. We've set up a working group which has members of the town council on it in order to discuss Central Bedfordshire's upcoming budget, and we heard from other local community groups. Obviously, I think at the next Dunstable Joint Committee we're likely to have reports from groups such as Citizens Advice and Dunstable Pride. So if you get a chance, come along to the next Dunstable Joint Committee, where I'm sure Councillor Tamara will be providing another report on how wonderful his community group is going. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for that. Yes, sorry.
Members, I think members of the committee may want to add something. I should just say Councillor Jones has really helpfully pointed out today that now she is no longer on the joint committee. She's not getting agendas and hasn't seen as many minutes as she would hope. So we will make sure that all members get agendas and minutes going forwards. We did have an item here for the minutes, but they didn't come through in time. That's why we've got the verbal update on here. But we will make sure that all members get both those things going forward.
Thank you very much. So we go to the next agenda to receive reports and updates by members of Central Bedfordshire Council on matters of interest to the Town Council. So I call upon members of Central Bedfordshire Council to report on any matters of interest to the Town Council.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to take this one. I am a member of Central Bedfordshire Council.
Yes.
And I'm here before you today to present you with an update from Central Bedfordshire Council. Okay, so a couple of things that are happening in CBC. Highways. This is something that actually came to Dunstable Joint Committee, which I could have said 2 minutes ago. So highways capital spend. We had a report, and Central Bedfordshire councillors will all know that currently, as it stands, the way that we fund capital works on our roads, which is like the big works that we do on capital, like on roads, like major resurfacing, that is currently financed by a grant that comes from central government and some money that Central Bedfordshire put in themselves, which they borrow externally or internally, mostly externally now, and mostly from other authorities. What's going to happen in the future is something slightly different, where Central Bedfordshire is not going to borrow any money anymore. They are just going to use the grant that is funded from central government. So this, in real terms, is about a £6 million reduction on capital spend on our highways. So about £6-7 million, depending on how much the government's highways grant is. So they don't know, but that's probably what it's going to be about. That's what they are budgeting for. So that kind of really sucks, because it's about £7 million being taken out of capital spend for our roads. They obviously have reasons for that, because every bit of money that we borrow, we have to pay back. We have to pay interest on that. That's obviously their reasonings for such a thing. But that's something that's happening. Obviously, we also talked about local council tax relief. That's something that is also happening. And the next upcoming executive meeting was due to be tomorrow. That has now been moved, I believe, to the 16th of December. So that is where the capital budget and the revenue budget will be discussed. Everyone tune in. It's a whale of a time. The executive is such a great group of people that have so much fun in their meetings. It's so good. Watch it. It's hilarious. Thanks.
Now, Councillor John Gunny, his hand is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to correct something that Councillor Brennan said. The highways budget for this year and previous years has been made up from grants received from central government and council tax. So going forward, next year it will continue to be made up from grants from central government and council tax. No decision has been made on the budget for next year, so no decision from where other money will be coming from has been made yet. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That brings the conclusion to our meeting. The date of the next meeting will be on the 9th February 2026 at 7 p.m. That concludes the business before the council. I declare the meeting to be closed.
Thank you.
Councillors, as your mayor, I have something for us to eat and just enjoy each other's company.